Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Rafael Ortiz. I'm a Chief Executive Officer for Telix in the EMEA region. Prior to joining Telix, I was with AAA Novartis for 6 years. So I've been working in the radiopharma environment for about 8 years. So that tells you how excited I am to share this presentation this afternoon. So here is a disclaimer about that presentation. Now let's jump onto the topic and what is a radiopharmaceutical. So as you will have understood, radiopharmaceutical is a combination of pharmaceutical and radioactivity. And so here, how it's working. Basically, most cancers overexpress receptors. And then the first part, can you hear me? Then the first part of the radiopharmaceutical to be a vector, a target that's going to be binding to this receptor. The second part of the radiopharmaceutical is going to be a radioactive isotope that could be either imaging or used for therapy. And these two components are going to be bound by a linker. Now, this product is going to be injected in the patient through the bloodstream. Is going to reach cancer lesions. And here is where the vector is going to come to play. It's going to bind to the receptor, and depending on the isotope that's been linked to it, imaging or therapy, it will be used to scan the patient and then see whether the patient overexpresses the receptors, or it's going to be used actually to treat the lesion, as the isotope will be actually irradiating the lesion. So I'm not going to go through the whole history of radioactivity and how radiation has been used in the treatment of cancer. As you can see, actually, first use of radiation to treat cancer dates back 100 years from now, triggered by the works of Madame Curie. But actually, the main events and actually the inflection point came from the results published on NetSpot and Lutathera with US FDA approval in 2018. And then in 22, first US approval of Telix Illuccix diagnosis of prostate cancer, and then Pluvicto by AAA Novartis. Now, actually, this market is expected to grow quite significantly, as you can see, and that's based on a few three drivers. First one, diagnostic will continue to grow. There are 20 million imaging procedures in the US. Also, new therapeutics will come, and I'll get back to that. And all these two events actually will trigger more investment and M&A in the area. As you can see, in the future, therapeutics will outpace diagnostics. So just to illustrate how growth will come, and this is Telix pipeline. So as you can see, we're coming from prostate to kidney to brain to bone marrow conditioning, and that's because we're going to use new targets. Now, the other reason for growth is that we're going to use new radioisotopes. So, for example, going from lutetium to actinium to terbium and other radioisotopes for therapy, but also going from gallium to zirconium to copper for imaging. Now, as you can see, we will still, for growth, be working on the two pair, what we call the theragnostic pair, both imaging and treatment, using the same vector. And that's really where the beauty of theragnostic comes. Basically, you see what you want to treat, okay, and then you treat what you've seen. So there are many benefits in that approach. For the patient first, because as a patient, you will only receive a treatment if you're proven eligible to receive it if you overexpress the receptors that will be used by the treatment, but also from payer standpoint, because no lines of treatment will be used when a patient is not likely to benefit from it. So, as I said, imaging is very important in being able to scan patients to make sure that they're eligible for treatment, but actually, they're also outpacing other imaging capabilities. Here, as an example, on a retrospective study of patients with prostate cancer with BCR, biochemical recurrence, half of the patients have seen their management change once gallium-68 imaging was made available. And now looking at therapies, it's not only major cancers such as prostate cancer that are concerned. Looking at GBM, glioblastoma, a disease where there's very little options. Actually, the management of glioblastoma has not changed since 2005. And there are no very interesting studies that could allow to change treatment of this pathology. So there's no doubt that radiopharmaceutical will change cancer management. But I would say that the picture is not all pink. There are a few challenges that we're facing. First one is really around manufacturing. First challenge is comparing radiopharmaceutical with standard products. Supply chain is even more critical. Firstly, sourcing of isotopes. Very often, isotopes are made of very rare metals. So it's critical to secure the sourcing. Second thing, manufacturing, especially with biologics, can be very difficult. And then I will go back to that. By definition, radiopharmaceutical cannot be stored, okay? Second challenge, manufacturing of radiopharmaceutical cannot be done in standard facility. You need to have shielded hot cells. Transportation also needs to be done under specific conditions. And last thing, shipment needs to be to comply with some safety regulations. Lastly, and that's probably the key difference with a standard product, you can compare actually radiopharmaceutical as melting ice cube. Now, the way energy is delivered to a patient for imaging or therapy is actually by having the product decaying, meaning that no time is of the essence. That means that a product cannot be used only during a certain period of time. To put that in perspective, if we look at imaging agents using gallium-68, they can only be used for 90 minutes, so that's pretty short, as you can imagine. Even therapeutic agents can be used, using lutetium, can be used between 72 hours to 80 hours. So that means that obviously you cannot store this product, and then you have to make sure that your supply chain is extremely reliable. So again, more than ever, time is of the essence. So that's certainly what we had in mind when we choose to build our manufacturing site 50 kilometers south of here in Senef. So obviously, Belgium is at the heart of Europe, but there are other reasons why we choose to have our site in Belgium. Because of historical reasons, there's been incredible research in Belgium around nuclear energy and nuclear medicine. And there's now a unique ecosystem in Belgium of academia, of companies working in nuclear medicine. And that's why actually Belgium was actually rebranded the Radiopharma Valley. So this is what we had in mind when we built this site. So what we'll be doing from this site will be actually research and development, manufacturing primarily for European patients, as well as a hub for partnerships. So again, this site is mainly designed to secure access to treatments by European patients. And in that sense, it can be, it's supporting other initiatives. Some of them have been talked about, like Samira Initiative, the EU Cancer Plan, or the third high-level nuclear roundtable on medical applications. So, what can we do to make the promise of nuclear medicine even more of a reality in the shortest time possible? Firstly, novelty of the technology makes that regulators, deciders are not aware about it and don't really know how to deal with it. So, as an industry, we have a responsibility with other stakeholders to educate the deciders about nuclear medicine. Secondly, many countries in the world, including some European countries, are still allowing in-house non-GMP products. So this can be totally understood when there's no alternative to be used, but obviously when there are GMP alternatives or registered alternatives, then this should be preferred for the safety of patients. Thirdly, in most EU countries, we're actually not ready to face the increased use of radiopharmaceuticals. We're not ready because of lack of equipment, namely PET machines, especially in the UK or Germany. Not ready either because in some countries, patients treated with lutetium, for example, have to stay 1 or 2 nights before they are released. So that means that other patients cannot be treated in the same time. Not ready, again, because of lack of trained workforce, nuclear physicians, radiopharmacists, nurses, and technicians. Lastly, price and reimbursement can be a challenge. That's specifically the case for diagnostics, where in most EU countries, there's a DRG, meaning that the hospital is going to receive the same amount of money independently from the product that they're going to use, be it a product that's been approved 20 years ago, or a very novel product. And lastly, it's also a challenge in some countries where reimbursement is granted by authorities based on non-GMP local production, not taking into account the cost of clinical trial or manufacturing, especially the case with monoclonal antibodies. So to conclude, I would say that there are certainly challenges that we need to face to overcome to make the promise of radiopharmaceuticals a reality in Europe. At the same time, I strongly think that these challenges are very minor compared to what radiopharmaceuticals can bring to patient management now and in the future. Thank you.
Great, lovely. Raphael, that was a great talk. So, lucky Belgium, they've got this new centre. Is it up and running now?
Well, we had the opening on June 8th, and it will be GMP certified next year.
That's fantastic. And how far can you go? Can we get some on the Eurostar? Or?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
How far are you going to go? Yes.
Well, in my past job, actually, from Spain, we're able to deliver Japan.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. And just, sorry, dominating the questions, were you ever going to do F-18 labelling, or are you going to stick with gallium?
No, well, actually, first isotope that we're going to produce on site will be zirconium for 250 product in renal cell carcinoma. And then we'll be looking at gallium production locally.
Well, it's great you'll be doing zirconium. Great, good. Sorry, I'm dominating. Question at the back, yes. Oh, sorry. How rude of me, sorry. You put his hand up as your second, sorry.
Thank you. Raphael, great presentation. Thank you for that. Rajan Jethwa from Ellipses Pharma. Radiopharmaceuticals are notoriously expensive to manufacture, especially in the pre-IND phase. A large amount of development organizations have exited an exciting arena because it can often cost $10 million to bring one drug to an IND-ready status or CTA-ready status. I'm curious, how are you funding so many, and what's the secret, and can you share with us how we can do it all a bit better and for more cost-effective, if that's possible?
Good point.
Well, they are indeed more expensive to manufacture. Now, actually, when you look at the way they're used, so now looking at PSMA treatment, for example, you have 6 injections for the patients compared to daily or monthly treatments that have to be paid by the payers. So actually, when you look at the overall survival of your treatment, it's cost effective. Now, we understand that not all countries will be able to afford, let's say, the latest products, and that's why we actually launched or relaunched the LMI brand, which will be dedicated to supply APIs and intermediates to radiopharmacies in those countries who cannot afford the latest product, let's say.
Is there sort of sharing that risk? I must say, I recently had a talk from the Peking Cancer Hospital in Beijing. They've got a load of stuff, fantastic chemistry. They've got stuff coming out their ears. So it's whether then we sort of, again, globally and share that, because as you say, one can't do it, and if it doesn't work, then you're scuppered, yeah. No, take your point. Great question.
Maybe yes. To your point, actually, the way most radiopharma look at targets is actually looking at targets that have been used previously by the pharma industry. One example of that is our 250 product to be used for kidney cancer. It was used as a treatment for kidney cancer as a monoclonal antibody. It failed, but it was binding so well to the target that we don't really care about its pharmacological effect. We just want it to bind.
To bind, yeah.
So basically, the chemistry, we don't deal with it. We just take products that are available with proof of binding, if you wish.
No point. Just finally, a quick one here. Sorry, let's move on.
Okay. I find your presentation to be very interesting and very much to the point. It's a bit a coincidence because some days ago I had a very interesting conversation with somebody who develops also similar products, but not the same, so there is not a competition. I was interested in gaining a deeper understanding in relation to your product pipeline, and more specifically, are you planning to expand further applications? And how about, for example, breast cancer? Because I didn't see it in your presentation.
Yeah, no, these were the main products. Now, we do have an early stage pipeline, including targets called FAPI, which are pretty popular in the nuclear medicine world. And for these FAPI compounds, we're going to have a basket study in which we're going to study many cancers, including breast cancer. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the second question, if I may, very quickly. So, could you provide some more information about the types of radio tracers which are currently in use, and any plans for their extension?
Sure. So very shortly,
Yeah.
I know F18 for imaging. F18 is the most used. It's been used for decades. Now, the one which is the new kid on the block is gallium-68, I would say. And I'm not talking about technetium, which has been used also for a long time. Gallium-68 being used with generators, so the hospitals have their own generator and they label on site. New tracers, I talked about zirconium. Benefit of zirconium is it has 4 days life, meaning that you could actually deliver anywhere in Europe. And then when it comes to treatment, the most used is mutation. So that's a beta emitter. There are new beta emitters being looked at, like terbium. And then alpha emitters that have their own benefit because they have shorter radiation, such as actinium and astatine.
Yeah, and high
Okay,
OT,
thank you very much. Thank you.
That's great. That's really exciting. So we wish you all the luck with that, which
Thank
is
you.
good. And we just may be careful. We're not dominated now. We need PET scanning for dementia drugs. We make sure cancer's still in the mix here. But certainly in terms of these cancer plans and everything, we need to get that in there. So thank you very much.
Thank
That's
you.
great. It's really
Thank you.
exciting. Thank you.